Of course, please follow me. But today I'm going to talk about the digital transformation that we did at Lego, but I'm also going to go a bit outside that. But I'm going to start with basically the story about the brick. So how many have played with Lego? Yes. It's a very successful company because what they sell is this brick. It's plastic. So I was working as a plastic salesman for 7 years, selling tons and tons and tons of plastic, which is very profitable, to say it. But how can a company keep that relevant? It's an 87-year-old company. How can they keep that, such a simple product, still relevant? And we've done it by basically building a media company, an entertainment company, a digital company on top of a toy company. So the company creates a ton of stories, a ton of characters, a ton of universes that you can really immerse yourself in, that you can relate to, that you can identify with. And then, funny enough, in all of those universes, there is a castle or there's a car, and then suddenly you have kids wanting to buy the products. But what we worked on a lot was both creating the stories and the storylines around it, but also really focusing on how can we actually amplify and how can we make sure that consumers and users are also creating their stories. Because that is when it comes from being a product that you sell to basically becoming a platform for creativity that can scale across the entire world. So we started this, and I started in the company 7 years ago. I was brought in, and I said, like, there was nothing on digital. There was a website, but no Facebook, no YouTube, not anything. And I came in from the entertainment business, and Lego is headquartered in a very tiny city in Denmark called Billund. It's in the middle of nowhere. The nightlife is non-existing. There is somewhat of a city, but it doubles the numbers every day when people come in to work at Lego. And I came in, and I was apparently, I might have been a bit arrogant. I just put it out there. I might have complained a bit about the lack of nightlife, complained a bit about the lack of digital vision. And one of my colleagues said to me at some point, Lars, I'm going to build you something in Lego. Great. And then he went away, and he came back 10 minutes later, and I was very excited. Oh my God, someone is building me something in Lego. And he came with this. So there is a message here somewhere, I don't know. But I understood the message, like when you work for a love brand like Lego, you need to really like be humble to the fact that so many parents and so many kids are playing with that product every single day, and the promises you make as a brand to keep it safe, to keep it playful, to keep it fun, and to keep it creative. So we really went on that journey, and here's a 1-minute video of how that journey went.
I used to build some pretty mean Lego towers when I was a kid.
This is my Cranky Wonky. This is my Cranky Wonky.
Who's saying, everybody? This week on the Lego News Show.
Well, it's just so I can get my ideas out and then I can see what they actually look like in bricks.
Drop the mic.
So we really accelerated the company. It was successful in not just on the numbers, but also in of the mindset in the companies. Like we were growing 1 million subscribers. I think a lot of companies would be very happy about doing that every third month. When we looked at the social channels, we had 7.5 million people reached daily, which is now way more actually. And I can also share with you that on a good day, one post could direct sell 6-digit numbers in dollars just from one Facebook post. What we did was basically to create hubs all around the world. So I had a team in Singapore, in Shanghai. You need to be inside the Chinese firewall to be there. US, both East Coast and West Coast. We then later gathered it all in New York. And then, of course, in London, where I was based myself and where we had the biggest amount of team. So the challenge that we took on and that I was asked was basically to aggressively, like the company knew that they were behind, to aggressively develop and scale the digital channels and the digital competencies. It has to be global. Lego is a global brand. It's in 65 markets. But the challenge that I then came back to them said, but this is not as easy as it is to build a factory, build a molding machine that produces Lego. We're building something that is being disrupted every single day. And just some of the disruptions that we've been like basically looking into and also working on, and every company is faced with, is just some of these. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but it's really something that you need to work on as a company, how to actually handle all of those changes. So one of them I'm going to go into is something that we worked with a lot, and I've spent a lot of time in China in the last 10 years. China in Chinese, it's called Zhongguo, and that means the country in the middle. And the reason why I think China is so important is because if you come to China, if you experience the Chinese culture, then you really realize that they don't see themselves as an outside country. They see themselves as the country in the middle, and you need to understand that before you can understand that impact that China has at the moment. So, like, why should we care? We don't live in China. But if we look at all the Chinese tech giants, Tencent, Alibaba, Jingdong, Baidu, and so on and so on and so on, they have an immense impact. How many have played Clash of Clans at Boom Beach? Yeah? 100% Chinese company now. Snapchat? Tencent is a huge investor. And how many is on TikTok? Yeah, it's starting to get there. If I asked that 2 years ago, people would be like, what? 6 months ago, still people would be like, what? But now we see a few people there. So, another question, how many monthly active users on TikTok? Anyone? Shout. 500 million active users on TikTok. So what I really like about TikTok and why I think it's an important platform is it's the first time we've seen a platform that is truly global. It's a 100% Chinese company, ByteDance, that merged Musical.ly and TikTok into one app. I think it's great because it's music-enabled creativity, so it's really a creative platform. It's 100% Chinese-owned. It launched in September 2016, so the growth rates on TikTok are insane. And the valuation right now is $75 billion. The GNP in Montenegro, I think, is about $5 billion. So this company alone is worth 5 times as much as Snapchat. So just going to show you a few of my favorite TikToks. So this is really a classic TikTok. It's a mix between music and some street dancing, skateboarding, whatever you have. Another one is like this, where it's a combination of a creative trick on TikTok and then basically a makeover. And then finally this one, and I would really recommend, if you want to learn about TikTok editing skills, then follow this girl from Poland. She's amazing in the way that she uses the app to create these amazing 15-second music videos. Pretty decent skills, I would say. So of course, in China, like the ecosystem in China is different because of the Chinese firewall, but there's a breadth of different creative platforms coming up that is so important to look at. Another one is MyTo. Anyone on MyTo? It's good to know because that's a beautification platform for beautifying your selfies. And you could do it to a degree where it's like, I think a lot of disappointment will happen in real life. You can also really go take it to the extra level. Just looks so much better. Monthly active users, 270 million active users on MyTo. So it's not just a platform, it's also a hardware company. So they produce their own phones, they have a whole like software platform, and they also do phone bundles where they basically develop their own phone that is optimized for selfies and then basically sells that with Hello Kitty or whoever. And this was a picture I took a few years ago at a big tech conference in Shanghai, and the woman on the picture is Angela Baby, which is definitely one of the most famous influencers in China. What is interesting about this platform is not just someone already on TikTok there, nicely. Not just the huge amount of usage of the MyTo platform, but what's also interesting is that every time you take a picture with MyTo, they save both the beautified image, but also the original version of it. When you've done that 5 times, the company then generates a 3D image of you, and then through facial recognition, then they can start recognizing you on the streets, in the shop, wherever they are with their camera technologies. An additional angle is that they, of course, as any other Chinese company, need to deliver all of their data to the government if required. So now you have a surveillance platform that generates 3D images of their entire user base. So when we talk about GDPR in Europe, I think we should really look at TikTok, MyTo, and all of those companies, because it's a way scarier feeling. So how do we actually deal with all of this disruption? A lot of companies ignore it. Some companies try to catch up. It takes a lot of labor. At Lego, and also in the company Viacom, where I'm right now, we try to predict it, we try to embrace it, and when we get really bold, we try to really create disruption. So our goal is not to be good at creating Facebook applications or creating tweets. It's a goal to be the best at adapting to, predicting, and creating that change in the digital landscape. Because that is the only thing that is going to be the competitive, sustainable advantage that you will build over time. So if we look at who are the champions in handling change and newness. Anyone? Who are the best in the world in handling that? No, it's kids. Kids have the ability because they've not been taught this structured thinking. They have open-ended thinking built in. They come with that built in. And if we need to really develop things, we need to play around with things like kids, and then we need to see how those things are brought to life and bring them to life to make sure that we can see how it really is. So, 6 secrets that was behind the digital success at Lego. One thing that we looked into a lot was the social behaviors. Social media, digital media is nothing but a set of technologies that really enhances our social abilities and our social nature. And as a business, if you want to really succeed on those platforms, you don't really need to know the platform that well if you just know your consumers, their behaviors, the way that they engage with each other in a social way. And at Lego, we did a lot of research and we did a lot of testing, and we found 2 needs that was the core needs for the Lego consumer. It was about building together, and it was about the pride of creation. So if you look on any kind of social media platform, digital platform, just search for the word Lego, you'll see thousands of images. And here are just some from a competition in Amsterdam where you see kids really building together. It's called First Lego League. They're building together, and you can see the joy when they actually succeed with something. That's so inherently human that we want to play with people, we want to learn together, we want to do that. So that's really core need behind Lego. The other one is the pride of creation. And again, like if you search for Lego, you'll see millions of pictures of kids or adults sharing their creations, but also parents sharing their creations, their kids. You'll find cute kids like this, kids building robots, kids building something. I have no idea what that is. But the fantastic thing is that if I ask that kid, if I ask that boy, what is this? He will not just say what it is, he will say how it came to life, how he brought it to life and what happened while he was doing that. Lego also has a lot of adult fans. Sometimes it becomes a bit scary. It takes over their lives. They have great photo opportunities. This guy built a replica of the space station while he was on the space station. So if you want to do that, you need something to contain the amount of bricks you have. And at Lego, I was often approached by agencies telling me, well, it's all great with the user-generated content, but you need some high-quality content. And then I showed them these pictures from a guy in Finland who does these amazing still photos of Lego. So you really need to understand the social needs behind it. Secondly, we focused a lot on not crafting a stage, or not crafting a message, but really creating a stage for our consumers. And what do I mean about that? So the first campaign I did in the company was later known as a $100 campaign. It was a product developed together with Apple. It was you had to download an app and you bought some bricks and it's like recognition and all of that jazz. It was very difficult to explain. So instead, we wanted to bring it to life with focusing on this guy called George, and he was part of the product. So we did the simplest of things. We focused on you want to build together and the pride of creation, and we just set the stage. So we asked people, can you build George with your own bricks and make him travel? 20 minutes after we launched this whole stage, we saw him popping up in Greece. He came to Spain, came to Hollywood, came to San Francisco, went on a trip to Hawaii. He popped up in Australia. All of that done just by consumers using bricks and bringing him to life. He went for a walk on the Bund. He traveled a lot. He got a haircut. Every time there was a new story coming out about George. A woman brought George to a friend's wedding. Another user saw that and thought like he was lonely, he had to marry. Nice wedding, a lot of applause about that one. Scandal, his ex-girlfriend showed up. And I can tell you at that time I had meetings with legal about this. They wanted us to take it down because she's not just his ex-girlfriend, she's also pregnant. If you look closely, she actually has a bit of a... We had to, like seriously, I had to explain legal that this was actually just Lego bricks. It was nothing that happened. And then this guy, he won the competition, and he, as you can see, built George and took him for a drive on a motorbike around at a show. And just before I came here, I wanted to see, so we created this project 7 years ago. It was created for $100 because that was the price we paid to the winner. We bought for $100 of Lego. So I wanted to see if George was still out there. So I searched for George, and I found him. It was uploaded a month ago, and from the southern tip of Borneo, so he's still out there traveling. So we succeeded by thinking differently and by using those, the building together and the pride of creation, by using those two pillars, then we made a complete global campaign for $100. So another way that we did this was together with Google, and this is a lot bigger campaign, but another way where we created a platform instead of just a message. So, a final project that I just want to go through is what is called the Cronky Wonky project. And it's a creative project we did with basically focusing on the challenge that Lego can sometimes be perceived as a set you build, you put it on the shelf and you forget about it, and not as a creative toy. So this time we teamed up with Facebook instead, because they are the gateway to parents, and this was a campaign or a project targeting parents. We know the consumer has changed behaviors, and we can't solve that like a different challenge with using the same tool that we used yesterday. So instead of going to a creative agency and a media agency, we teamed up with Facebook, and then we created a new way of working together by taking a team and putting a team together to solve this challenge. The insight that we built it on was that 98% of us in this room, we were creative geniuses when we were the age of 3. And the age of 3, as mentioned, like that is when your brain is had the maximum capacity to be creative and be open. The challenge is that today only 2% of us have retained those levels of creativity. So I don't know if anyone will be bold enough to say like, that's me, but that is a fact. And with that project, we wanted to really reveal and celebrate that, not just like American kids are good at that, or German kids or Montenegrin kids. It's like all kids are born with that potential, the creative potential that is desperately needed to solve those issues that we leave behind. But instead of doing it as a message, we just asked a question. So we got invited by a lot of families. We went into their houses, to the kids' playroom, and then we just asked the kids to build a Cronky Wonky. Who knows what a Cronky Wonky is? That's typically how adults react. We also, at that point, we asked Twitter. Of course, they didn't know. They don't know anything. Instagram, Wikipedia, even Google didn't know what a Cronky Wonky was. But then when we asked kids, and these are just a tiny bit of footage we got from the huge amount of kids we talked to, they, of course, know. Oh, just go back.
Was ist das denn? That type of word, I think it's like a kissing spaceship. Trainer. Sie leben auf dem Mond. Una casa. It'll be mostly white. And it's gonna be big and fat. Ein Flugmodell oder... It's like half dog, half bunny. And then you'll have a green like edge for like a frame. And his glasses are gonna have cute little ice cream cones. Una máquina. Una casa máquina. A Tyrannosaurus Rex. And then he makes doo-doo-doo, boop, boop. Well, it's just so I can get my ideas out, and then I can see what they actually look like in bricks. This is my Cronky Wonky with the meal Cronky Wonky. This is my Cronky Wonky. Cronky Wonky.
So I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but basically this is what Lego is focusing on by giving the opportunity for kids to play with Lego bricks. We did a blogger outreach program, non-paid, just basically gave them a stage, gave them a package of Lego bricks, and then build a Cronky Wonky. Third one, you need to move at the pace of the consumer. The old quote from Jack Welch, if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, then the end is near, is obviously still true, even like now more than ever. So we built everything around real-time signals, not just from social, but real-time signals from everywhere where we could find them, and then make sure that we made them understandable by developing dashboards that would take the whole data complexity and then basically put that into a format that could be understood, an interface that could be understood by the typical brand manager. So we had all of this information gathered, and then this is our war room, where we would basically be sitting with in-house people from our Facebook data people, but also people from all of the markets to make those decisions on the fly, to move money from media spend in Germany to France, depending on how the content was developing. The fourth one, embrace diversity. This is my former leadership team that I hired. This is just the top managers of a 70 people team. And we had 35 different nationalities and diversity in any kind of way you could imagine. And for me, it's so important. If you really want to guard yourself against disruption, you need to bring as many different voices into that room as possible. And number 5, tied to business value, we did it very closely by developing a clear link, not just to sales, but also to any kind of value that we could build for the company. So one of the ways that it was done was a crowdsourcing platform called Lego Ideas, where you can basically bring your idea, and then 4 times a year, the company would select one of those products and then bring that to life. So you can see the amazing creations that are coming on this platform. And these are just some of the products that came through that platform. Without a marketing budget, these products became the top sellers at Lego, because the engagement, the crowdsourcing created like a vacuum in the market. So when we dropped the products, it basically just like they flew off the shelves, if they even managed to reach the shelves before they were sold. And finally, most importantly, we need to allow ourselves, we need to allow the people below us to do the right thing, not the usual thing. We cannot solve the challenges that are coming at us with basically looking at what we did yesterday. So I think it's something that we all need to practice, because it's so easy as a human being to be caught up by habit instead of actually really forcing change. So to wrap up, the core competency is focusing on agility. We need to think like kids. We need to craft a stage instead of just a message. We need to move at the pace, or hopefully even faster than the consumer. Embrace diversity, create the business impact, and then, as said, do the right things and not just the usual things. Thank you.